Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Today we are going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the bookish propaganda that I am not falling for. Guys, I have been seeing this going around on Instagram the last few days, and just the other day I watched a YouTuber go a little bit more in depth about her opinion on certain bookish propaganda that she just isn't falling for and that she doesn't agree with. And I was like, you know what? I have some things to say as well. So I figured I would just kind of make this video to get some of these feelings off of my chest. Essentially, what this video does is there are certain opinions that are floating around the bookish community that are trying to be normalized, and these are opinions that I disagree with. Now, I am pulling my opinions from my own experience. I've lived my own life. I'm running in my own circles. So those are all contributing to how I feel about certain topics. Obviously, you might feel different in certain situations. That's okay. In other situations, I feel like maybe you should reevaluate a little bit. But hey, I'm just here talking about how I feel about certain things, and I don't want you to feel like I'm attacking you. Attacking is a strong word. I'm just judging you. And I'm just a small YouTuber. I'm just some random person, so don't take my judgment too harshly. But with that being said, I do have 5 different topics that I want to talk about. Some of them kind of run in the similar vein, but I figured we would break it down into these 5 specific topics. Most of them are relatively serious, though the 5th one is just me being petty. I'm gonna be honest, it's just me being a little salty. That's probably the one that I would have the most fun with ranting about, because I've been ranting about this in my head for years. But you're probably like, can't you just get over it? I can't, because I have obsessive thoughts and sometimes they stick around for years. I'm working on it, guys. But without further ado, let me go ahead and get into the first topic. And that is the fact that I do not believe that judging people for reading primarily romantasy is inherently misogynistic. So that is something that a lot of people have been talking about. They're like, hey, a lot of people are looking down on women on reading smut, reading romance, reading romantasy, all this stuff. And they're telling us that it's just us being silly. It's us being porn addicts. It's us being unintelligent and reading just like unintelligent narratives. Now, all of that should not be said, okay? Reading a lot of smut does not mean you're a porn addict. There is absolutely nothing wrong with reading only romance. I read primarily romance, so I would never look down on someone who does that. And I do definitely agree that the romance genre as a whole is looked down on because it is primarily for women. So there is a misogynistic aspect to people's opinion revolving around romance. However, I feel like this whole you're being misogynistic by judging me for just reading romantasy has become a little bit of a shield for people who don't want to be judged for reading only a genre that is primarily white, straight, and at times is known for having more conservative leaning themes and relationship dynamics. Romantasy is a relatively young genre. I mean, I think it's only been around for like a few years or so. If you don't know what it is, essentially it is fantasy stories that focus more on the romance than the plot, the world building, anything else that may be going on into the fantasy world is essentially not well developed within these stories. I personally have tried a few romantasy books. They do not work for me. I love a fantasy romance, but I don't love a romantasy. And honestly, for a lot of genres, that is how it works for me, where I don't like a romance to overpower everything else that is going on. I need a little bit more. That is a personal preference. If you like romantasy, that's totally fine. The issue with romantasy is that because it is so young, it is still very much dominated by the white cis hetero world, I guess you could say. If you look at the majority of popular romantasy books, we're talking about anything written by Sarah J. Maas, we're talking about the Fourth Wings, the Powerless, the Quicksilvers, all of those are by white women. They feature white characters, they are all heterosexual, everyone is cis. It is lacking heavily in the diversity category. And there are a lot of people, especially within the queer community, and POC creators who are calling out the romantasy genre for that. And there are a lot of people who are only reading those popular non-diverse romantasy books that are claiming that these people are being misogynistic, when that is actually not at all the case. What they are judging is the fact that you are not supporting diverse creators, diverse literature, that you are continuing to support a publishing industry that doesn't value these diverse books as much, because you are blowing up only the books that are by white authors, feature white characters, feature straight couples, and everything like that. And because you're putting all your money there, guess where the publishing industry is putting all their attention? There as well. So it is not misogyny that is causing these people to look at you and be like, hey, you need to read something else. They're not saying, hey, you need to start reading nonfiction and lit fic and historical. No one's saying that, okay? You can still just read a romantasy, but there are authors who are POC, who are queer, who have queer characters, racially diverse, lots of disability representation, inspired by different cultures. They are writing books and you're just ignoring it. And that is where the problem lies. So yes, there is a group of people, primarily men, who do use misogyny to look down on women who read primarily romance. But the people that are judging those for just reading these overhyped, cookie cutter, bland, no diversity romantasies are not part of that group. They are a separate group of people who are judging you for a different reason. So don't talk about being the victim of misogyny when really you're just being called out on having the reading habits of someone who's kind of racist and kind of homophobic, kind of bigoted. Honestly, if I walk up to your bookshelf and I walk away from it thinking you're a Trump supporter, that shows that there is a problem with what books you are picking up. So you need to diversify your reading. There are authors within romantasy that are writing diverse books. This is a popular and upcoming genre. Trust me, it is not just the white women who are writing in this genre. So you gotta put in the work, okay? You can't just go to the most popular TikTok girlies, because unfortunately they are just going to continue to show you the same things over and over again, and you're not going to diversify your reading within this genre. So next time someone points out that, hey, I noticed you read like 100 romantasy books this year and like 95 of them were by white authors, featured no diversity when it came to the characters' race, ethnicity, or sexuality, don't get defensive. Take a look and realize where your reading is lacking and work on it. That is something that I am always doing. That is something other readers are always doing. And I do think that it is part of being a good, solid reader who is using their buying power to influence the publishing industry in a positive manner. So again, there is misogyny when it comes to judgment of romantasy and romance in general. However, you can't use misogyny as this shield to excuse your non-diverse reading. So the second point I want to get into, the second type of propaganda that I'm just like, no, it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal, and it does build a little bit off of what I was just talking about. And that is the reading isn't political and the I don't look who the author is. I don't care who the author is. I'm not just gonna read a book because it's diverse. I only read good books. That is a comment that I have seen on every single video. I'm not even joking. Anytime there's a video of a creator who's usually like a POC creator or a queer creator who is pointing out the fact that a lot of people are reading books that lack diversity and are suggesting that they try to read more diverse, and then people argue with like, I'm not gonna like go out here and just like pick up a book that doesn't sound interesting because it's like by a person of color. No one's asking you to do that, and I think you making that argument is incredibly telling that you are homophobic and that you're a racist. Yeah. So if you're out here saying you only read good books, hence why you don't pick up diverse books, that's a really problematic thing to say. Okay, if you didn't know that, I'm just pointing out the obvious here. I think people who state things like that often are also in the group of reading isn't political, because reading is political. I mean, I feel like this should be common knowledge, but common knowledge nowadays is not so common. Essentially, if you look around, you see the book bannings, the book burnings all throughout history, currently all that jazz. You see the current political parties working to decrease people's access to knowledge, especially when it comes in the form of literature. Yes, it is very obvious that they know that reading is political and that it is very dangerous because it informs the population and allows them to make decisions that better benefit them rather than the people in power. Now, reading diversely is a way of reading politically because reading has been known to increase empathy. If you are someone like me who is white, straight passing, I am asexual, but I am straight, and also I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm not, out here interacting with a lot of people. So for me, reading is a really important tool to educating myself on the lives and experiences of other people. Now, obviously, in my opinion, reading diversely is the bare minimum for interacting with different groups. You should also be supporting them when it comes to how you are voting. You should also be supporting them by how you are interacting with them in your day-to-day life, out in your community, all of that jazz. You should be supporting them. But reading really is like the first step to introducing you to a group of people that you don't interact with on a day-to-day basis. And it allows you to build empathy for these people. It allows you to understand what they are actually going through rather than what other people are telling you they are going through. It is really important to hear own voices. And when you are just hearing your own voice over and over again because you're reading only white people about straight people, you're not expanding your knowledge of the world. You're staying very confined and very ignorant. And ignorance might be bliss. Trust me, I would love to be one of those people who's out here like, things aren't that bad, but instead I know people are suffering every day, and it sucks to know that. It's not great for my mental health, but at the same time, sitting around and sticking my head in the sand isn't doing myself or anyone else in my society, in my community, any good. And I owe it to myself and everyone around me to stay educated, to know what reality is. And books can really help with that. Now, that includes fiction stories. Even if it is fiction, fiction is always set within reality. Authors are talking about current events. They are talking about current experiences. They are criticizing current regimes and political decisions that are being made, and all of that jazz. All of that is happening within stories. And yes, reading can be fun. It can be a head empty, no thoughts kind of situation, but it is also really important that you use reading to educate yourself. And I'm not talking about picking up some nonfiction book. I hardly ever read nonfiction, but even just picking up a fun fiction story that deals with a group of people that you're not familiar with is educating you. And it is so important that you are doing this and pushing against people who are trying to encourage you to do so, pushing against people who are trying to help you grow as a person is a very concerning direction that our society is going in. People are just so set in their ways and they don't want to read anything or see anything that could possibly change your opinion. Changing your opinion is hard, okay? Especially if it's been your opinion for a few years and it is the opinion of the people around you, especially like your parents, things like that. But it is very necessary, and I think, or I know that at the end, it'll be beneficial for society, for the world as a whole, if we all are more in tune with each other. And I think reading is the first step. It's one little tiny step. It's one little piece of the puzzle, but I think it's an important one. And I think the fact that books are being banned, that the powers that be know that as well. So please, please, please realize that reading is political. Please realize that when people ask you to read more diversely, they're not telling you to pick up a book that sounds terrible just because it's by a POC author or just because it's queer. There are a ton of amazing books out there that are diverse, okay? So don't sit there and tell us that you only read good books and that you're not gonna just pick up a book because it's by a Black author. No one is telling you to do that, okay? There are a gajillion books out there and a few million of them are diverse. So please consider taking the time and effort to find them and find one of the good ones and reading it. Since I mentioned it is hard to change your opinion or your view on something, let's jump into the third topic, which might be a little controversial. This is something that I have been gradually moving to and I'm just done. And that is, I don't think it's okay to love Harry Potter anymore. I'm sorry. I think the days of being able to excuse your obsession with Harry Potter are officially over. They probably should have ended a long time ago, but I think with J.K. Rowling saying that she is going to take her profit that she makes off the new Harry Potter TV show and using it to essentially fund anti-trans legislation, has officially shut the door on Harry Potter. Like, Harry Potter, I grew up with it. It was never as big a part of my life as some other people, but I read the books, I watched the movies, all of that jazz. It was part of my childhood. Like, I was a child growing up with Harry Potter, okay? And I loved it. I really did. But I think that over the last few years, J.K. Rowling has becoming more and more loud. Lady won't shut up about how much she hates trans people. And as someone who really supports trans people, I just can't stand by it anymore. I know that for a long time, my opinion was, hey, if you still want to like Harry Potter, go ahead, just don't give any money to her. Try not to talk about it in a way that gets other people to want to buy the stuff, things like that. But I think now I'm just done. And I feel like we should be done as well. Like, this is old news. This is an old story. There are other wonderful fantasy middle grade young adult series that are out there. I think we can all move on to a story that is written by someone who's less problematic, that we can go ahead and support someone who isn't financially supporting a movement that is trying to eradicate a harmless group of people. I know that it can be really hard to leave something you love behind. I personally have never had to do that because I've never been so obsessed with a fandom. Like, usually if I start to get into something and I feel that it's problematic, I just dip. It's pretty easy for me, but I acknowledge the fact that, let's take this for example. This is for the All for the Game series. This is by Nora Sakovic, and this is a very niche series. Either you love it or you hate it. It's got problems in it. Everyone is toxic, you know, it's problematic. But if someone told me that this author was taking the money that she was making from this series and supporting the destruction of the trans community, I would not be supporting her anymore. Okay, I love All for the Game. I love Andrew. Okay, I love Neil. I love them all, but I love the trans community more. And I think that we need to be willing to make personal sacrifices to save and support this group of people. And I think leaving Harry Potter behind, getting rid of all the merch that is sitting on your shelves in the back of your videos, not going to the parks or anything, not buying special editions, not watching the TV show that's coming out is a way to do that. We need to tell this woman that we don't support her in what she's doing, that she's gone too far for too long. We should have shut her down a long time ago, but I think it's officially, like, done. Please leave Harry Potter behind. Find a different fandom to become obsessed with. There's a ton of fandoms out there. I'm sure you'll be able to find another fandom that you will be able to build your entire personality around. So please support the trans community by not supporting J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter universe. Something a little bit less serious for number 4, and also something pretty popular when it comes to an opinion, and that is special editions and book boxes. I have never subscribed to a book box other than book of the month, and I spent a lot of time skipping because I was never the kind of person to buy a book just cause. Like, I would have to want to read the book in order to buy it, and that's why I never signed up for a book subscription, because there were so many times people were like, this is the book, and I was like, well, I'm not interested in that. Like, what if I spent $60 on this book and a bunch of trinkets and I don't want to read it? And so I always felt like book boxes were kind of a scam. I know that sounds a little bit extreme, but it just seems a little bit ridiculous to spend this much money on a book by an author you've never heard about. You've never heard about the book at all. Like, why are we spending all this money on this random book? And then oftentimes I feel like a lot of people end up just putting them on Pango because the book is mediocre. Like, you're spending 60, 70 something dollars on a mediocre book. And I think that that is kind of a foolish thing to do. I don't think that that is something one should really do. I think that it is good that a lot of book boxes are moving away from the trinkets. What a waste all of those trinkets were. Yes, on the one hand, it was great that all these artists were being supported, but on the other hand, what is a person supposed to do when they're getting 12 trinkets every single month? It just felt like a lot of over consumerism and just blind buying because you don't want to be left out and not because you had any actual interest in the book or the product. And then we move into the special editions. let's just say I don't really have any special editions. The only one I have is the 10-year anniversary of the Song of Achilles. I love the Song of Achilles. To me, a special edition should be reserved for books that are special to you, okay? They're not just supposed to be special editions of some book that you've never heard of, that you've never read. And that is what you see a lot of. Like, a lot of first editions are these special editions. They got sprayed edges. By the way, paperbacks with spray edges are so ugly, okay? Because oftentimes the paperback doesn't like stay, you know, tight, and so then it has like all the white lines in between the sprayed edges. It just doesn't look good, guys. Please stop doing that. Does not look good. But that being said, special editions nowadays, because of the high volume of them and the fact that they are being done to books that no one knows anything about and no one loves yet because no one's read it, makes them not so special. It just feels like a money grab. But I understand why people want to buy them, because they are like these coveted possessions and there's a limited amount of them, and so they're like, hey, we're releasing this new book, here's the synopsis and here's a special edition, and if you think you might love it, you have to buy it, because otherwise you're gonna have to spend $300 to buy someone selling it on Pango or eBay or whatever. So it kind of is this trap where if you feel like you are gonna love this book and you want a special edition, you just have to take that gamble and spend all that money to get it. And that feels a little dirty to me. That feels like the book boxes and the publishers are playing dirty, and I do not like it. I also feel like certain books have way more special editions than they need. I mean, like, if you think about Sarah J. Maas's books, oh my gosh, or like Fourth Wing, a single book does not need that many editions. At this point, you are just trying to make money, and it's actually kind of embarrassing for the publishing industry. Like, part of me is almost like, are you guys financially struggling or something? I feel like the book community has kind of uplifted. It saved Barnes and Noble. I mean, the publishing industry should be thriving nowadays. Like, why are y'all acting so desperate for money with like these 50 ACOTAR special editions? And some of them aren't even that good. So to me, the special editions thing has just gotten out of hand. I think that special editions should be saved for later, like, you know, the 10-year anniversary, 5-year anniversary, even the 1-year anniversary. Give people time to like buy the book, get it from the library, read it, decide they love it or obsessed with it, and want to spend the money on a beautiful edition instead of just throwing it out there and having people being like, this was a 3-star, or I DNF'd this book, or I got this book in a book subscription box a few years ago and I just don't think I'm ever gonna read it, because that is so often what is happening. And it's sad, because a special edition book can be something really special and they just aren't nowadays. So I do have beef with the special editions. I think we all need to just calm down a little bit about them. I know people say there's a difference between a reader and a book collector, but there's a part of me that is like, if you are subscribed to 3 different book boxes and you're just getting these books sent to you every month, are you a book collector? I mean, I don't know. It seems a little bit too lazy. For me, collectors, they kind of go out, they look for things, they put like time, effort, and money into their collections. And oftentimes these people who are just getting these book boxes sent to them, not really. So I think that we need to calm down a little bit with the special editions, that these publishing companies are just using them to make a quick buck. And I think that the consumers need to stop falling for it, and that they just need to be like, we don't need another edition of ACOTAR. We just really don't. the series is so old. It's so old. Like, we don't need to be hyping it up anymore. Just like Harry Potter, we can just like leave it in the past, okay? We've got other better books nowadays. Let's just leave it behind. All right, guys. We are on to the 5th one. So I'm gonna take my house shoes off here. Just kind of, my feet are getting a little bit sweaty in there, and I'm just like, I'm hyping myself up so much that I'm getting a little hot and bothered here. But this is the one that is going to be me just being petty. I'm gonna be honest. This is my opinion, and I think my opinion is right. I will also say that there are going to be spoilers for the first book of the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black and this. So if you've never read this book and if you want to read it, okay, good luck. The piece of propaganda that I used to see all the time, and every once in a while it pops up again when people are talking about strong female leads. Jude is not a strong female lead. I am begging you ladies not to look up to this girl. Oh my gosh. If you are looking up at this girl and being like, girl boss goals, stop. Stop, okay? I don't know what she's doing in the 2nd and 3rd book. I DNF the first book at page 260, so essentially like just a few pages before the end of the book. So just to give you a little bit of background information about my experience with The Cruel Prince. So I, back in the day, really thought I would love this book. I really did. I bought the Barnes & Noble special edition of the first book. I know I was just ranting about special editions, but this was years ago. That's old Natalie. And I was like, I'm not going to read this until book 2 and 3 are out because I know I'm going to love this and I'm going to want to binge read it, and I don't want to wait for the other books because that would be really hard. And so I started reading this book. Tell me why. I don't think I have ever been more disappointed in a book in my entire life. This book, the writing was like, if you were looking for a book that embodied the concept of tell and not show, it is this book. It was so bad that to this day, I read this years ago, like probably pre-COVID. Yeah. And I am still mad at it to this day. That, like, I have yet to find a fae story that I like, and I seriously think that The Captive Prince, that's what it's called. No, The Cruel Prince. Sorry. The Captive Prince I love. The Cruel Prince I hate. The Cruel Prince has ruined fae for me. And the reason I cannot stand by and let people call Jude a strong female character is because I have never seen anyone fail at their job as spectacularly, I can't even say that word, spectacularly. How do you say it? I don't know how you say it, but you know what I'm trying to say. I have never seen someone fail at their job at the level that Jude failed her job. This is where we get into spoilers. So we have Jude. She's a human. She's living with her older sister, her twin, and her 2 parents. And one day this fae guy shows up and like kills her parents because her older sister is his daughter. And he's like, you stole my daughter, so I'm taking her back. And then for some reason he takes Jude and her sister as well. I don't know why, he just does. Anyway, so now these 2 human girls have been living in the fae world. Instead of being like hating the fae and hating this dude that killed her parents, Jude is out here really trying to prove that she's better than everyone else when she's clearly not. Sorry girl, but you're a human and they're fae. I mean, it's kind of like some little mortal trying to prove they're better than like a god. It's just not gonna happen. And she's trying to get the attention and approval of the guy that killed her parents. Okay, couldn't be me. I have a little bit more self-respect than that. And then one day, she is asked, I think by one of the princes, to join like his group of spies or assassins, and she needs to train. Do we see any of the training? No. Okay, so if you're like, ooh, training sequence, no, we just get told she goes like into the woods sometimes and does stuff. That's what I'm saying. It's all tell and no show. Like we keep getting told like how amazing Jude is, but we never actually see it. Anyway, the failure. Oh my god, it is so embarrassing for her. So she is at this event where the royal family is, and like they literally get killed like right in front of her. The people that she's supposed to be protecting, they're like right there, and they just get killed, and she's like, oh my god. And then her family like gets up and leaves. Not only do they get up and leave, but her twin sister leaves with the guy that Jude has been like kind of dating. So like not only did she not notice that her twin sister was like banging her boyfriend or whatever, but she also didn't realize the people she was literally living in the house with, like her actual family that she was eating dinner with every night, were the ones that she was looking for, who were planning on killing the royal family. Like you were literally in the house with these people who were plotting to do it, and you didn't figure it out. You couldn't even figure out that your boyfriend was cheating on you. And it was just, like I said, maybe in the second and third book she like becomes amazing or something, but I have just never in my entire life seen someone fail so on such a high level. She was like the pro of failures. And then people always are like, yeah, she's just such a amazing woman, so strong and capable. And I'm like, she literally just let the entire royal family die, and they were killed by her own family. And part of me is like, why did her family leave her out? They were just over here like plotting murder, and they were like, no, we can't trust Jude. Like, was she just like that obvious about the fact that she can't? Anyway, so yeah, that is the propaganda. Probably like I will never think that Jude is a respectable character, because in my eyes she's just the biggest failure of all time. And that is me being salty because she ruined Faye for me. Honestly, the book was just so terrible. And then there was that guy with the tail that she liked. Ah, what a pathetic loser. I've never, that man, like he was like under the table, just hanging out under the table while his family was getting murdered. And I was like, who are these losers? I don't want to watch. I mean, they deserve each other because they both suck. But yes, I did DNF that book. I will never read Holly Black, and I am to this day tainted when it comes to Fae stories. So yeah, that I have been holding that rant in for so long. It felt so good. It felt so good. I hope you guys hate Jude as much as I do. Okay. Let's hate her together, okay? Girl power. Let's just, I know that women hating women isn't cool, but in this case, it is necessary. All right, guys. So that was me being a little salty, being a little rude. I will say I'm on my period right now, so I'm not my best self. I'm sorry. But it just felt really good to say all these things, and I felt like a lot of them were really necessary to say. I would love to know what propaganda you guys are not falling for when it comes to the book community. Do you agree with me on some of these? Do you disagree with me on some of these, on all of these? Let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's try not to argue about it, but maybe a little bit back and forth like adults in the comments. As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!